Welcome back to Unpacking My Thoughts. My name is Bridget, and if you're listening to this on the podcast via Anchor or Apple Podcast, thank you. You can also view this on YouTube, so you have two different ways that you can enjoy this podcast. So let's get started with today's topic. Today's topic is how do you deal with stress? Stress is very um, it impacts our life each and every day. And how we learned to deal with stress often goes back to our childhood. I can remember being a child and being told, you don't have anything to worry about. You're a child, or what are you stressing about? Or what do you have an attitude for? You're a child, so you don't have anything to worry about. And so often, because we minimize, how children feel, they can grow up into adults that feel like, how they feel is not important. It is important. It's extremely important how you feel, how people respond to you, how you respond to others. So often when people are stressed, there are certain things that they will try to do to cope with the stress. I know one of the ways for me is to push it aside, not to really deal with it. I know I'm stressed. I know I'm dealing with something, but you know what? If I can just avoid it, if I don't really acknowledge it or face it, then I don't have to deal with it, right? Well, that's not always a good way of handling stress, because when you don't deal with something, it will come back and you'll have to deal with it later. It's one of those things that you'll deal with it now or you'll deal with it later. Those are the options. Those are the only two options when dealing with stress. Um, I know that often people are told when they're dealing with stress that, well, just think about it. It could be worse. When you say to somebody, it could be worse, you're really telling them how they feel and what they're going through isn't important. You may not mean to do that. That might not be your intention, but it's definitely can be taken as that, right? It can be taken as you're not important. How you're feeling is not important. Get over it. Get over it is another really bad thing to tell somebody who's going through a hard situation and they're stressing. Just get over it. I do not care what it is that you're going through. You have a right to process and unpack that situation and deal with it in a way that you feel is going to be healthy for you. No one gets to decide or dictate how you deal with stressors in your life and how you handle them. Now, it is important to find the right tools, to find the right avenues of handling stress in the appropriate way. If you need to go to therapy, that is a wonderful tool that you can use. Therapy is so effective, prayer is effective. It is important to understand what it is that you're going through so you can have the proper tools to deal and face with what you need to deal with. There's nothing worse than working on a project and not having the proper tools. And when you start to view stress as a project that you need to work on and that you need the proper tools to deal with it, you'll see it in a different light. So I think it's important not to minimize what people are going through. Definitely don't tell people what you're going through. Oh, it could be worse. Well, we have this mentality sometimes that, well, you know what? I'm going to tell you somebody who's going through this worse so that it can make you feel better about what you're going through. That's not effective. Sometimes, majority of the time, people who are dealing with stress and going through things, they want you to listen to them. They don't always want you to fix it. They don't want you to solve it. They don't want you to compare it to someone else's. They want you to listen to them. Because remember, we learn a lot of these behaviors as children. So if you're a child that did not feel like you were heard or did not feel like you were listened to, you can carry that into your adulthood. And then you're an adult that doesn't feel heard. You're an adult that doesn't feel like anybody listens to you. So it's so important to understand, how not only to deal with stress for yourself, but how to be a positive influence for others who are dealing with stress, because you definitely don't want to add on to the stress that they're already dealing with. So We talked about not saying, oh, it could be worse, not minimizing what they're going through. And definitely, we want to take the time now. If you have children or you're around children, take time to listen to them. Take time to truly understand what they're going through so they don't grow up as adults with these issues that they don't know how to cope and get through. You want to make sure that you're helping that child to truly be heard and to be seen and to live a good, productive life and learning how to express themselves effectively, not in a negative way. Another way that people deal with stress is through ways that are toxic, overeating, um, binge drinking. Some people are cutters and they do physical harm to themselves. So there are so many things. And you know what? The most amazing thing about stress is it's known as a silent killer because you can suppress it so much to the point where you don't even realize how much damage that it's doing to you mentally and physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It manifests in so many ways: stroke, heart attack. There are so many ways that stress can manifest if it's not dealt with and it's not handled properly. You never know what someone is going through. You can look at someone and say, "Hey, how are you today?" They can smile, look you straight in your eye, and tell you, "I'm fine." But inside, the whole time, they're struggling and suffering and dealing with things that are unspeakable, unbearable to them. So handle people with care. Be kind to those you meet. Like the saying goes, be kind to those you meet. You never know what they are going through. And understand that people deal with things differently. So because you handle stress, you may think you handle stress better than someone else. Don't minimize how they're handling their stress. Don't minimize their situation. Don't decide whether or not their situation is severe enough to even be concerned or to care about. If it's a concern to them, then it's definitely something that you want to take serious. By no means am I telling you that you need to try to counsel anybody or try to provide them with the tools that they need, but it's always best to direct someone in the right way to go to get what they need from the appropriate people who can help them. As friends, we love to offer advice. We love to, be there for the people that we love, friends and family. But sometimes just being there is not enough. Sometimes you need to tell that friend, hey, you may want to go to speak to somebody. You may want to go and speak with somebody who's a professional in this. Find a way to address it because some people take that offensive that you're telling them that they need to seek help through another source, through therapy. Some people can take offense to that. So I just encourage you to be there, to listen, and to just be what that person needs you to be in that moment, not comparing their trauma to someone else's, not comparing their trauma to yours so that they understand that it's not that bad and you'll be okay. And be mindful of the tone that you have when you're speaking to people. Be mindful of how you treat others when you're speaking to them. There's this saying, tough love. Everybody doesn't need tough love. Everybody does not want your tough love. So handle people carefully. Be observant. See what it is that they're needing. Don't be so busy to try to offer what you think is the best solution that you're not even paying attention to what that person actually needs. So I just wanted to share that little bit about stress. It's not a full breakdown of what stress can do to you or how stress affects you. It's just a little brief summary to unpack and make you think about stress in your life, stress in the life of other people, and just really help us to kind of take a look on how we're handling things. Are we getting the care that we need for ourselves? And are we helping others to get the care that they need also? And by helping them, the best thing you can do is to direct them in the right direction to get the tools to be able to cope. Thank you so much. Until next time, have a good day.